welcome to the Stronger After Stroke podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart at the Norton Neuroscience Institute Resource Center, and today I have a stroke survivor guest who's going to talk to us about her experience, Dr. Christine Cosby-Gaither.
Yes, thank you so very much. That was a wonderful, fabulous introduction. You're always so amazing.
You're amazing.
Always so amazing. So
obviously, we have a mutual admiration society going on here. And we'll talk a little bit about all the things that I admire about this stunning woman here. So could you tell us, to just start off with, you're not a medical doctor, right? Just to clarify
yes,
that.
I am not a medical doctor. I have so much respect for medical doctors. My doctorate is actually a doctor of education. And yes, in leadership education. So I have an EDD.
Yes, and she uses that really well as a stroke survivor, which we will touch on here shortly. But we're here to talk about her experience as a stroke survivor. So would you mind to just quickly tell us about the day of your stroke and what your symptoms were?
So my stroke happened, wow, I cannot believe how long it's been, but on January 28th of 2019, I suffered a massive stroke, and it was around 4:45 a.m. in the middle of the night, and I woke up and with the urge to use the restroom. Could not, as soon as I got up to use the restroom, I looked at my husband, and I think he could tell that I was having a stroke, but I collapsed, I blacked out. And I don't remember much after there. So as far as my symptoms, what exactly happened, I'm not really for sure. I do remember the night before the stroke, I had some family at my house, and I remember having a headache. And it seemed like it was a headache that it was the worst headache of my life.
Yeah.
And I said, I just need to go lay down. I need to take something. I need to go lay down. And I was cold. And that's exactly what I did. And I woke up and this incident happened.
Yeah. So when you did, I know we've talked before on other times we visited together about how you didn't remember a whole lot of what happened after you had your stroke when you were in the hospital and everything. Can you describe some of the effects of the stroke or what happened to your body as a result?
So yes, you're right. I don't remember everything that happened, but I remember when I finally was able to come to. The first thing was I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk. I was blind. I was paralyzed completely on my left side. And I was very confused because I didn't understand what was going on. And it was interesting because I can actually remember hearing people talk, but I couldn't wake up. And I remember there was a doctor that said, well, we've taken her off of all the, medicine. She should be waking up. We don't know why she's not waking up. And I can remember asking myself, like, why aren't you waking up? Like, I remember being confused behind that. But
that sounds pretty scary.
Yeah.
Not being able to answer when you can think to talk, but
Yes.
you can't get it out.
But not only that, it's like I couldn't open my eyes. I was stuck in this comatose state. I was asleep.
Were your eyes closed, or
Yes,
were your eyes
they
open
were.
and you couldn't see?
They were closed.
Okay, at that time.
They were closed.
So when you woke up and realized that you couldn't see, do you remember that?
So when I woke up and realized I could, yes, I do remember that.
How did you know?
And it was just because I felt like my eyes were open, but I could see and tell that shapes and that there was shadows around me, but I couldn't see who it was. I couldn't make out who it was. It was just something where my eyes were it was like cloudy. It just blocked me from understanding who it was. So therefore, I would recognize certain things, certain persons that I could remember based off of, them whispering in my ear or talking to me. Based off the voices, because that's one thing I will say throughout this is that I never lost my hearing.
Good. Got to hold on to that.
Yes, I never lost my hearing. I could always hear.
Yeah. So when, obviously, like, we can see each other now. So when did that start to change? How long after your stroke until you started to be able to see some things again?
I remember being in the hospital and saying, hey, I just wanted to see. I just wanted to figure out how to see. And I think it was probably about 6 months after, because I kept saying, "Hey, I wanna get out of here. I wanna go to vision therapy. I
Mhm.
wanna go to vision therapy," because everyone kept telling me, "If you go to vision therapy, you'll be able to," and I said, "Well, I need my eyes. I needed my eyes. I need to go to vision therapy."
'Cause you were
So
doing a lot of physical rehab
oh,
this whole time.
yes.
You were working with physical therapy and walking and strengthening that weakened side for the whole time, right? But
Right.
without being able to see what you were doing.
Correct. Correct. So I said, I need vision therapy. I need to go to therapy. So it took so long for my vision, because when I first was able to get a glimpse of something, I was seeing double. Everything was double. I would look in my room and try to look at the TV and try to focus on the TV, but it would be two televisions. It
Mhm.
wouldn't just be one picture. It would just everything was double. And it took so long for it to become one single image.
So it started off being everything was shadows, and then was this over like weeks or months before you could even start seeing double?
Yes, so I would say at least 2 months
Okay.
before I could then start seeing double.
Mhm.
And then, but a lot of that I think helped because I was able to first of all, prior to the stroke, I had already wore glasses.
Okay.
So, I was able to take my glasses and patch. That's one of the
Mhm.
things
Patch
they
one
had me do,
side at
patch
a
one
time.
side at a time. So every day I would patch a different side to try to strengthen my eyes.
Good. And so through that, you were able to bring it down from double vision to
Mhm.
binocular
Yes,
vision where
and
you
I
see one thing.
realized, and even still to this day, because I was paralyzed on my left side, so everything on my left side, including my left eye is weaker than my right.
Oh, wow. Just like the muscles in it and
Like,
everything.
I could see better out of my right eye than I can my
Mhm.
left eye. Like,
Oh,
if I was to close my eye and
mhm.
try to look, I can see much better out of my right eye than my left eye.
Okay. And is that the same as it was before, or did the stroke change that?
The
Do you
stroke
know?
changed that.
Okay. Because there's usually a dominant eye, whichever one it is.
Mhm.
So
But yes, the stroke definitely changed it. I can definitely tell a difference.
awesome. So once you were able to go to visual therapy, what did you find the most helpful in your situation?
I would say, we did a lot of computer work, and then in addition, like, doing, like, our they helped me so much with my peripheral because I still have issues with peripheral, and then also my memory. We did a lot of work. It was surprising to me that in vision therapy that they work on your memory also.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's like a package
So,
deal. That's
yes, they work
fantastic.
on your memory. So it was a lot of, hey, we're going to relearn the presidents.
Yeah.
We're going to play Simon Says. It was a lot of things that they worked on in regards to that too. And my memory is something that is very challenged, and I still try to work on that to this day. Like play different games and do different things to try to strengthen my memory.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they tried to make it as fun as possible for you.
They tried, they
They
tried.
tried.
Yes, they tried. I will say that they tried out of all the therapies that I've gone through, vision therapy has been, I would say, the funnest.
Oh, okay, good.
Because, physical therapy, occupational therapy, that stuff is hard.
Yeah,
It's really hard.
it's like
Speech therapy,
exercise.
it's hard,
Yeah,
but it's extremely hard.
yeah.
So vision therapy, I was relieved that they try to make it fun.
And I think that the others do too, but yeah, it sounds like they did a good job
Yeah,
gamifying
yeah,
education,
absolutely.
which you are kind of the expert in education with your degree there. Now, how have you, since used your recovery to educate others and help others
Well, I think the biggest thing is because I was so uneducated
about stroke?
about stroke.
Because you're very
Um,
educated.
so, well, thank you. You're amazing. But prior to the stroke, I was uneducated about stroke. I did not know anyone around me who had a stroke, who suffered a stroke. And honestly, I was unaware of the symptoms. I was unaware of FAST, and what to look for. So I said, if strokes are 80% preventable, they can only be prevented with education. They can only be prevented if you know. So I took it upon myself to try to teach and train as many people as I can about this, because I'm saying, hey, if I didn't know, let me try to help someone else. Maybe they'll prevent a stroke.
Exactly. And timely recognition of stroke signs is so important to reversing the symptoms before they become so permanent that you have to spend all this time in therapy to recover. So thank you for all your efforts for that. And Christine has also created, shall we call it a support system of a nonprofit?
Well, actually, it's a nonprofit. It's an organization. Yeah. We do have, one of the things out of the organization is we do have support groups.
Yes. And through A Stroke of Grace, her nonprofit, she's able to encourage other stroke survivors worldwide and really give a voice to their stories. And do you want to share anything else about it? I know you've gone through some evolution of the nonprofit in the last year since I've met you.
It's been so amazing. We are now serving and have supporters in 18 states, and we're actually in Kenya. So we're starting to really see it pick up, and it's so amazing to me because before a stroke, I said, I didn't understand how many people had stroke. I mean, I really did not understand. This was not something that it never crossed my mind. But now that I'm in it, I literally speak to families. I speak to someone every day.
Like a new person that you meet who has had a stroke.
And it is amazing to me how young the ages are getting. Mm-hmm. You know, we have always known for stroke to be kind of an older person's, something that happened to older persons. But I mean, I'm seeing 22, 23. And I know it even happens in peds.
Yes, it does happen in children as well.
I absolutely know that. Mm-hmm. But it's just amazing how many persons that I'm starting to see. It's something that's becoming that I'm seeing in younger persons.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of different causes for the strokes. And so I think it's really important for people to hear other people's stories and let them know that they're not alone. Because like you said, initially you didn't know that this was something other people could relate to, and that can feel really isolating. And so I hope that by hearing your experience and your hopeful journey of having some success with getting your vision back and your walking and being able to help other people, I hope that that can be encouraging for other people too. So
thank you. Yes.
Thank you for sharing with us today, Christine.
Thank you for inviting me. And by the way, congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
Oh, you're amazing. And we will be back with a session from Dr. Bowersox, a optometrist who actually does vision rehab with patients, to talk more about the specifics and maybe some things that you can do at home if that's something you're recovering from after having a stroke. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Stronger After Stroke podcast. I'm your host, Rosa Hart, and my other guest on this episode about vision after stroke is Dr. Bowersox.
Hi.
And you specialize in vision rehab, right?
Yes, vision rehab, and
you're one of those rare neuro-optometrists,
there's
right?
not a lot of us, right? Yeah.
And how many of them have you trained, did you say?
Of the 9 in the state, I've trained 6.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So you're probably in agreement about a whole lot of what needs to be done because they learned it from you, right?
True, very true.
So previously on this episode, we heard from a stroke survivor, and when she woke up from her stroke, she couldn't see a thing. And years later, she's still in vision rehab, and it's been helpful, but it's a slow process. So do you see many young people with vision changes after a stroke?
There's a lot of, and it's pretty common for people to have either a field loss, either on the left or the right side. And younger people can be anything from a child to someone in their 40s. You know, when you're 60-some, 40s looks pretty young. And so...
Yeah. Younger every day for
younger
me.
all the time. And so the deal is that... And so, there are little tricks and things that we can do to help you as far as, reading easier. A lot of times, people who have balance issues following an event will be able to help with prisms. Sometimes they'll have double vision because of a nerve palsy or because there's something else going on. And inability to bring the eyes together, inability to move the eyes across the page when they're reading. Those things are all treatable.
So, what made you so passionate about this very niche field of study that got you into this?
Well, when I was a child, my eyes turned in, and in my small town in Iowa, I had eye surgery, and my eyes were straight for about 18 months, and then my eyes went out, they went up, and they rotated, and I can fix and help people without, and I can fix some up, but I cannot fix rotated at all. So I'm sure that you or your audience will notice that my eyes are not straight. So when people come to me to straighten their eyes, the first thing I tell them is that they should probably question why they would go to a guy with unstraight eyes to get their eyes straightened. And it's kind of like going to, not a very pretty plastic surgeon. And so, but it's because I'm so interested in that from a personal aspect, and I find that there's a lot of doctors that are interested in their fields simply from a personal aspect.
Yeah. And so you've probably learned a lot of coping mechanisms for yourself,
Absolutely.
as well as things that can help other people cope with things that can't be corrected surgically or other ways, right?
That's correct.
So what are some of the techniques that you use to help someone who's struggling with their vision after having a stroke?
Well, one of the simplest things that you can do if you have a field cut is simply rotating the page of information. If you have a sheet of paper here and you have, let's say, a right side loss, when you move from left to right, you're constantly moving into your field of loss. And so that makes it incredibly difficult. And so whether it's left or right, if you'll turn the top of the page into the field of loss. Okay, so for a right side.
So you're reading sideways?
So you are reading sideways, but you're always, so in the case of a right field loss, you rotate it to 3 o'clock, okay? And then you read from top to bottom, okay? But you're constantly reading to the left, moving into your good field. Conversely, of course, if you have a left field loss, you will have to read from bottom to top. Now, I am trying desperately to find someone to help me with an app that will help us rotate. Here's a great idea. If you develop apps, please
you will use it, right?
Take the idea and run with it. I just want free use. But anyway, so the deal is, I'm trying to find someone that will take text and rotate it so that it's like we're constantly reading down, especially for those people with left loss, because they have to read from the bottom up to move into their good field. And so, rotate the text so that it's like you're reading a crossword puzzle, 7 down is Windows or something. And that would make it a lot simpler for many, many people. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
So when someone comes to you for vision rehab after they've had a stroke, they may have heard things like, however you are at 6 months after you've had a stroke is how you're going to be for the rest of your life. What would you say to that?
I'd say that that's not actually, that's not exactly correct. There's always room for improvement. It doesn't, will it slow down? Will the benefit decrease? Yes. Is it, have I seen people who I have one lady who 40 years after she had an acoustic neuroma, all of a sudden is able to walk without putting her hand on the wall.
So it helped with her balance.
And so it helps with balance. It helps with security, knowing where you are in space. It helps with, you can figure out ways to help people with reading. You can help people with activities of daily life.
Like going to the grocery store?
And grocery stores are a great example. Great example of several different things. But a lot of times people have problems with light. Wearing a baseball cap in a grocery store helps some people.
Really?
Yeah.
That is not an intervention I would have assumed.
Right? Yeah. Because the fluorescent lights and the lighting and stuff is pretty harsh,
Oh.
it can be advantageous. Something else that can help is that a lot of times when you have all of these brightly colored labels that are designed to catch your eye, and you're walking past them, you get this movement called Gibsonian flow, which is just basically all the images are going past you at the rate that you walk. And so that can be overwhelming for some people. It doesn't sound like it would be a hard thing to do, but it can be absolutely crazy hard.
But I think a lot of people who experience anxiety may have experienced that as well, whether or not they have vision problems.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of folks out there who have, with the use of prisms in glasses, where, and I do this base in prism. So my universal prism thing is, here's the prism base, here's the image, because the images always move towards the base, or away from the base, so it's towards the apex. If you do some base in prism, what happens is it makes things appear further away.
Okay.
And so when you're passing somebody in Kroger, for example, or Publix now that they're coming. What happens is it makes the aisle wider.
Wow.
Okay, so that it doesn't look like you're about to smash into them. The most common thing for people to comment on is that prior to, my stroke or my injury, what happens is that my husband or wife was a great driver, and since that time, they have been trying to kill me on the road because they brake so late. They will wait till the last possible second to brake. And it's like...
did their driving patterns really change after your stroke?
Right, yeah. Because your daughter and your son and your husband and your wife drive now, and they all drive like crazy people. What was the only thing that changed in here? Oh yeah, it was you and your perception. And your perception of where things are in space is very important. Whether you're driving and coming up on cars at a stoplight, or you're going through Kroger, or if you see the floor being tilted, or if it has typically those people that have the braking problem see the floor and they'll have like a little round, like a sideways speed bump in it. The sides, if they look at a hallway, the sides will be lower than the center. It'll like be a little
kind of like
crown
looking at the top of a ball.
Except it's cylindrical.
Oh, okay.
So it's
like you're saying a speed bump or something.
Yeah, more like a sideways speed bump, where the sides look a little bit lower. If you poured a glass of water in the center, it would run off to the sides.
Gotcha.
Or it would run off to one side more than the other.
Wow. Did you say you had an experience with a patient who was able to overcome their fear of the grocery store?
Yes.
Through therapy?
Yeah. It's that was through prism glasses, and it's a combination of a little base in prism, and then we use another technique called binasal occlusion, where.
Is that the tape trick?
That's the tape trick.
Oh, I've heard about the tape trick.
The tape trick is
How does that work?
Well, basically, we have an angle of about like this, where both eyes are supposed to work together.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're holding your hands out about shoulder width.
And it's about a 45-degree angle, and it's
Okay.
All right. If I occlude the nasal portion of the right lens, I can move that angle in about 15 degrees. And if I do the same with my left eye occluded, I can move that in about 15 degrees, so that I have a smaller area of binocularity. I still see everything, okay, assuming I don't have a field cut, but I still see everything. But what happens is that I have less processing. And one of the problems with a brain injury is that the processing aspect, where if you can decrease the load on the brain as far as binocular processing is very taxing. And if you can decrease the load, what happens is that life just gets easier. And so what we're trying to do is...
Will that work for me? Will it make my life easier?
Well,
no.
I'll tell you what. If we have this little crazy little grid.
Okay.
And
you're going to hold that up for the camera?
I should say.
So if you're listening to this, you can always come look at the YouTube video.
Right. Yes.
But
the other thing is too, that If you're very sensitive to stripes or patterns, you walk into your sister-in-law's house and she has some sort of stripe wallpaper that you hate. There's a reason you hate it. And so,
Oh, what's that reason?
other than just poor color choice, it's people will look at this X and they'll see it vibrating.
Whoa.
They'll see the side stuff will be vibrating. They will see a large diamond pattern when it's only horizontal stripes with an X in the middle of it. They'll see shapes, sine waves, all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
And so,
because it's their brain trying to process all that information at once.
yeah, it's visual aliasing is what it's called. And we've all seen examples of visual aliasing, or aliasing, I should say, if you've ever taken a picture of a computer monitor.
Yeah.
And you see those crazy wild stripes that are going around. Well, some people see that without, they photograph, they see that everywhere all the time.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's debilitating. Yeah.
Oh.
And so you can make it so that it's livable and nicer, and crowds don't bother you as much. And when you're, in my case, my grandkids bum rush me, it's not an anxiety producing event. You can go to church, you can go to see your friends, you can, do things like that. And it's easier.
Wow. Well, so how does somebody know if they could be a good candidate for benefiting from vision therapy?
Well, there's PRISM and neuro rehab type stuff, and then there's vision therapy stuff.
Okay.
And the vision therapy stuff is when you have problems with moving your eyes.
Oh.
And getting your eyes to function the way they need to function. So there's 4 basic aspects to vision. There's the Z-axis stuff, where if you're not seeing things far away or up close, most eye doctors do that, and that's just a glasses, contacts, bifocals, whatever you need. We do the weird stuff, which is we worry about the Y-axis and the X-axis. And if we were smart like the Hebrews and the Chinese, we would read vertically, but we failed to copy very successful cultures.
Instead, we go left or right.
Instead, we go left and right, do things the hard way all the time. And so, which neurologically is much more difficult.
Wow.
And it takes a lot more coordination. So, by the way, a little side note, that's why people can learn to read up and down easier than they can learn when they have to rotate that text for a field loss. They can actually learn that fairly quickly. They will never be as fast as horizontal, but they can be about 80% as fast.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw a fellow who did it in like 3 months, and it was just amazing.
He would love that app. That somebody's going to develop now.
Somebody's going to develop for me. Just call me. Anyway,
Dr. Bowersox's contact information will be in the show notes.
Anyway, so our eyes have to come together, move apart, come together, move apart if we're looking at a page, okay? If they don't come together to a point, or if they come together poorly, or you can only do it for so long and then all of a sudden your eyes split, you can read for 10, 15 minutes and then it gets blurry. Or when you read, our eyes have to be able to move across a page of printed text so that we understand what's written on there. And if you don't do that, what happens is you skip words, you skip lines, and you don't understand what you just read. And that's common for not only people that have had some sort of brain injury, it's also common with children. About 12% of children have this problem.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Without a brain injury?
Without it, well, my mom always said all kids are brain injured, but that's...
because they were born?
I don't know. At least my brother and I. But anyway.
Well,
anyway,
that was her selection.
That's true. But anyway, so, but yeah, it's really common. It's really common between those two problems, coming together, going apart. The 4th aspect is when you see the word elephant, you have to see an elephant in your head. We have to change those squiggles that are on the page, okay, to something that means something to us visually. And generally, we think in pictures. We don't really think in words. Mm-hmm. And so
I've heard of those people.
That
do think in words and not pictures.
There are some of those there, and there are other people who, when they see the letter E, they see a little yellow outline of it, and those are called synesthetes.
Yeah.
And they're fascinating folks. And
exceptions.
They are. They're exceptional.
So, how does someone know? Do they need to go to a regular optometrist for glasses to find out if they need a referral to some more specialized?
So we
Do you need a referral to see
You don't need a
patients?
referral. You can come directly. If you have a regular eye doctor that we work with a lot, we will do the special stuff and we will send you back to that eye doctor. So it's not like
Do they need to see a neuro-ophthalmologist first?
No.
Okay. That might be just certain things. Would you refer out for certain things?
I have referred to neuro-ophthalmology of late, but it's not very common.
And you're a neuro-optometrist.
I am. So neuro-ophthalmology, in my opinion, they're worried about the wiring and how things are put together, and if there's something that's impinging or not functioning correctly back in the brain, behind the eye typically, or from the retina back. We work on how things work, so we're more functional.
Gotcha.
I want you to be able to get your eyes together. I want you to be able to move them apart. I want them to be, when they come together, I want them to be at the same height. So your eyes are aiming vertically correct, horizontally correct.
For you, it's all about obtaining that functional
It's being functional.
ability.
It's about being functional. Yeah.
Fantastic. So how can someone find someone who can help them like you do if they are somewhere else in the country and they don't live in Louisville or Kentucky with all your trainees?
Sure. There's a website called Nora Vision Rehab, Nora Vision Rehab. They just recently changed the website, so if you just go to nora.org, that's one website. Another one is the College of Optometrists and Vision Development. That's more based in pediatrics. Once again, they have also just recently changed their name. COVID changed everything. And that's covd.org. And you can both of those websites have a find a doctor.
Okay.
Type in your zip code, and there you'll be.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bowersox, so much
Thank
for
you.
coming to speak with us today.
It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Thanks.
Great. And stay tuned for the next episode of the Stronger After Stroke podcast on your favorite platform, whether that's YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, where you listen audibly. I'd love it if you'd leave a comment. Let me know if this was helpful or if there are any other topics that you'd like to learn about. And I'll see you in the next episode.